Find the inventor within you. Students will engage in problem solving and creative thinking through invention-based learning. 2 projects will be completed. The first project, Water Bottle Fountain, has you creating your own water fountain out of a plastic bottle. It will allow you to see the importance of air in space and how it is always present when we can't see it. The second project, Water Bottle Paddle Boat, is where you will build a paddle boat out of water powered by a self-made propeller. Kids will explore the science behind the rotation and power of a propeller.
Hey guys, welcome to Ivy Tech Virtual Kids College, and my name is Kim Mobley, and I'm with the Inventors and Engineers class, and this segment is on how to construct a balloon-powered water fountain. And for this project, you need an empty 2-liter, a straw, just 1 straw, a balloon, scissors, and tape. All right, guys, and in this project, it is designed to talk about the power of air and how air is always present even when we don't see it, and how much power it can cause. So I'm going to start with blowing up this balloon. So if I would ask you what this balloon was filled with, obviously you would say air. And I'm trapping the air inside the balloon right now by pinching the bottom. And if I let go of the bottom, the air is going to escape. Good. All right, and if I show you this water bottle, or this 2-liter, and I ask you what it's filled with, you would say nothing. It looks empty. But I'm going to show you how this bottle actually has air in it. So a while ago, when I released the bottom of the balloon, the air all escaped. But now, if I release the bottom of the balloon and put it on top of this 2-liter, you can see that the balloon, the air does not deflate, or the balloon does not deflate because the air doesn't have anywhere to escape to, because the air is in the 2-liter, the air is in the balloon, so it's bouncing against each other, and the air can't be released. And that is what's going to make this water fountain work here when we make it. So I'm going to take that balloon off, and we will go through the steps of making the water fountain. All right, the first step in the balloon-powered water fountain is to take your empty 2-liter and a pair of scissors, and this is the trickiest part of the whole project. You probably need a grown-up with you as you do this, but you're going to go about halfway down in the 2-liter, and you're just going to poke a really small hole with the scissors. And it's kind of tricky. You're going to think that you're going to break the 2-liter. You won't. You're just going to kind of get a hole in there. And once you get the hole, I kind of turn my scissors just a little bit because you want the hole just big enough to fit the straw in it, but you don't want a lot of extra space because you don't want the air to escape where that straw is. So I'm just going to kind of rotate the scissors around and make it a little bit more circular. And you're going to stick your straw into the 2-liter at an angle, just like that. So you can see the straws in there. And if you have the straw with like the expandable, bendable top, it's good to have that top facing upward. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the project. But once your straw is in, you're just going to take pieces of tape and basically close off that opening so no air escapes where the straw is sticking into the 2-liter. And if you don't have tape, you can use putty, you can use blue tack. I think tape is a little bit quicker and easier. But like I said, if you don't have tape, you can kind of fill that area in with silly putty or blue tack, but you just have to make sure that your water bottle is nice and dry, otherwise it won't stick. But I'm just going to kind of tape that off. Even when you think that that hole is completely covered, I would still put a couple more pieces of tape just to make sure. And it doesn't have to be pretty, just as long as all that air is trapped in there. So that is basically the premise of what our water bottle is going to look like. All right, now that you have your water fountain constructed, you're going to fill it with water. And I have 2 plastic trays right here just so I'm not making a mess. If you're doing this at home, I would just put the water fountain right beside the sink. That way that the water can come out of the straw and go right into the sink so you don't make a mess. So I'm going to fill the water bottle, or the 2-liter. And this is what, it's very important that that straw is facing upward and you put it in at a slant. That's what I talked about earlier, because if it was facing downward, once you start putting the water in, it would start escaping from the straw. And another thing, you don't want to fill the 2 liter with water and make that water line above the straw, because then the water will start escaping also. So see the top of the straw, if I kind of just draw an imaginary line through there, you don't want the water any higher than that. That's why you kind of want to put your straw right in the middle, because if you put it too low, you won't be able to put very much water in it. So I'm just going to put that water in there. You don't have to fill it up. And like you can see right now, there's no water coming out of the straw. And just to make it a little fun, I brought food coloring just to make the water a different color. You don't have to do that, but just for this project, I'm going to kind of mix it up a little bit. All right, so right now, it's not much of a water fountain, right? It's just a 2 liter filled with blue water with a straw sticking out. So if I put this balloon right here on top, nothing happens because I did not put any air into the balloon, and the air is what's going to cause the power to go into the 2 liter and make the fountain work. So this is a balloon-powered fountain. But right now, with the balloon not filled up, it's not working. So I'm going to blow the balloon up. All right, so I have the balloon blown up, and I'm going to put the balloon onto the water bottle, and the air in the balloon is going to power the water fountain and make the water start coming out of the straw. And you guys can kind of see my water fountain is leaking just a little bit because I have it taped, which is totally fine. It's still going to work. So if you see that your water fountain is leaking at home, don't fret. It'll still work. Now, whenever I put the balloon on top of the 2 liter, I want to do it really quick to make sure that no air escapes from the balloon. So I'm just going to take the lip of the balloon. I'm going to stick it onto the water fountain. And there you go. You can see the air escaping from the balloon, pushing down into the 2 liter, and that's what's making the water come out of the straw. And one other thing you should notice is how the balloon is starting to deflate, because that air is going down into the 2 liter, and now the air has a spot to escape because we made a hole in the water bottle with that straw. Before, whenever we didn't have the hole in the water bottle, the balloon stayed inflated because the air didn't have anywhere to escape. Now the air has a place to escape. All right, so I have a new balloon, and I filled this one up with a lot of air. And obviously, the more air that you put in the balloon, the more power it's going to put into the 2 liter, and the more the water will come out. So if you blow up just a little balloon with a little bit of air, it's not going to have as much power. And you're going to have a little bit of air escape as you put it on the top. There we go. Let's see here. There we go. So you can see the fountain working, the air coming out of the balloon, or the balloon deflating a little bit. I'm having to hold the straw because my tape is getting a little bit weak. But you can see that makes the water come out of the straw. And you can do this as many times as you want. I think using the tape, you'll probably have to replace the tape each time just because it's getting wet, but if you have the strong blue tack or the putty at home, you'll probably be able to get a little bit more tries out of it before replacing. And that's the end of the balloon-powered water fountain project. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. Hey guys, welcome to Ivy Tech's Virtual Kids College. My name is Kim Mobley, and I am with the Inventors and Engineers class. And today we are going to make a water bottle paddle boat. And for this project, you need an empty water bottle. You will need tape. You will need chopsticks or pencils. I'm using pencils just because I found all of these items at the Dollar Tree. And then you will need 4 pieces of 2-inch by 3-inch piece of plastic. And I'm going to explain how I cut those pieces of plastic as we get started. And one last supply I forgot to mention is you will need 1 rubber band. Now, the first thing that you're going to do with this project is you're going to need your pieces of plastic. I estimate that they're about 2 inch by 3 inch, and what I did is I took an empty milk carton and I cut these pieces of plastic out of the empty milk carton. You can use any pieces of plastic. You just want to make sure that you use plastic for the propeller because you're going to be putting your boat in water. So once you have your 4 pieces of plastic, you're going to kind of fold them in half. Does not have to be perfect. I'm just going to take each and fold them in half. And also the size doesn't have to be perfect. Whenever I made this at home, I ended up having to cut them a little bit after I got the propeller together. And after you have your pieces of plastic bent, you are going to tape them together, and this is what is going to be the propeller of your boat. So I just have painter's tape because that's what I had at home. So I'm going to kind of rip it in half just to make the pieces a little bit smaller. And you're going to take 2 of the pieces of plastic. You're going to kind of put them together just like that. And you're going to put a piece of tape around them to tape them together. And you're going to do the same thing with the other 2 pieces. So I taped 2 of the pieces together, and then I'm going to take those 2 pieces and I'm going to tape them together like this. So it almost looks like a T or a star. And this is what your propeller is going to be. And like I said, you want to use plastic because you are going to put this in water. If you just use like a piece of cardstock or an index card, your boat would not be very successful because the piece of paper would just absorb the water. The last piece. And you don't have to fold the pieces of plastic like I did. I folded them in half, but I do think it makes it a little bit easier to tape them together. So there you go. And you can see mine's kind of uneven right there. So I'm just going to take my scissors and kind of cut it, make it a little bit more even. I'm going to add another piece of tape just to make it a little bit sturdier. And it's not a beauty contest. This does not have to look pretty. It does not have to be perfectly symmetrical to work. It's all about functionality, not about beauty. And that is your propeller. And the second part of your project is actually the body of your boat. So you're going to take your water bottle. You want to make sure that the lid is on your water bottle. If the lid is off your water bottle, whenever you put it into the water to propel, it's going to fill with water. It's not going to go anywhere. So make sure that you have your lid on your water bottle. Put that on there. And you're going to tape 1 chopstick or pencil at a time to the side of your water bottle. And you want the pencil hanging off the end, I'd say probably about 4 inches, 5 inches, because you're going to attach your propeller on there and you want to have room for your propeller to rotate. If you do it up too high, you won't have any room for your propeller to circulate. So I'm going to put it about 4 or 5 inches down, and I am going to take the piece of tape and tape that on. Again, it does not have to be pretty. And you'll have to do one at a time. It's very tricky to do both at the same time. So I'm going to tape one on. I'm going to make sure it's nice and sturdy. Might have to move that down just a little bit. And then when you tape the other one on, you want to make sure that they're even. They do have to be symmetrical. They do have to be even. So if you guys can see that, I wouldn't want it up here. I wouldn't want it too long. I would want it right even with the green pencil. I'm just going to kind of get a piece of tape to tape it into place, and then I'll put a couple more pieces of tape on there just to make sure that they're nice and stable and strong. I'll do a couple more pieces of tape just to reinforce it, because once we put this in the water, we want to make sure that they're sticky and they're strong. And that is the body of your boat. All right, the next step is you are going to take your rubber band. You are going to stretch it across the 2 pencils. And you want to make sure that your rubber band is not too tight, that it's making your pencils push together, and you want to make sure that it's not loose either. And you're going to kind of thread your propeller through it. So 2 pieces or 2 ends are going to be on one side of the propeller, 2 ends are going to be on the other side of the propeller, if you guys can see that. You want to make sure that this is pulled down just a little bit. Now, the whole premise of this is to make sure that your propeller does not touch your water bottle as it's rotating. So mine looks pretty good right now. Now, if you make this at home and you see that your propeller is too big, it's not a problem at all. All you have to do is take a pair of scissors and just cut the edge of the propeller. It's already taped together, so if you cut a little bit off each edge, it's not going to mess it up at all. See, I'm just kind of cutting those just a little bit. But what I would say is if you cut one side, I would cut all 4 sides just to make sure they're all still close to the same length. They don't have to be exactly the same length, but you do want them to be close. So if you guys can see, I'm going to take this off just to show you. It's still, you can tell all the sides are still pretty equal. Can you see that? All right, so I'm going to put that back on. All right, and before you put it in the water to try it out, just make sure you rotate it a couple times. And you guys can see the rubber band is building up tension. And when I let go of the propeller, that rubber band is going to release all of its tension, and that's what's going to propel the boat forward in the water. So you guys can see it's clear of the water bottle, and whenever I let go, it rotates. All right, guys, once your boat is ready to be propelled, you can try to do it in your sink. It'll work in your sink, but it'll bump into the side and try to turn around. So I suggest doing it in a bathtub, or if you have a swimming pool, you could try it in the swimming pool. Here at Ivy Tech, we are going to show you in the fountain. That way it can move a little bit further. In order to get your boat to move, you're going to want to rotate the propeller against the rubber band, and that's going to build up the tension in the rubber band. And you guys can see the tension that's starting to build up in the rubber band. You'll want to rotate it several times, and the direction that you rotate it, I'm rotating it forward, the direction that you rotate it is going to determine which way the boat moves. So once you have it rotated several times, you're going to kind of hold it in place, and then you're going to drop it down into the body of water. All right, I have my propeller rotated and ready. It's ready to be powered. I'm going to drop it into the body of water, and I'm going to let the propeller go. And you can see it's kind of moving backwards, but it is rotating and moving around the fountain. So I actually did my propeller forwards. So if you want your boat to move forward, you want to rotate your propeller backwards. Now in this one, I rotated it backwards or towards me, and that should propel the boat forward. So I'm going to rotate it a couple more times and build up that tension. And we're definitely not making a speedboat. It's not going to take off, but it is going to move it throughout the water. I'm going to drop it down. I'm going to, and there it goes. And this just kind of shows you too, it's not going perfectly straight. It is moving, but if you want it to go perfectly straight, you need that propeller to be perfectly symmetrical, because even if it has the slightest edge, it's going to make it turn a little bit. But you can see it's definitely moving it through the fountain. And a couple extension activities with this, guys. If you want to make more than one, you can race them. Something to think about is, like we talked about earlier, the direction you rotate your propeller is going to determine the direction that your boat goes. And how much you rotate your propeller is going to determine how fast or how long your boat goes. So that's something you can talk about with your grown-up as you're making these. And I hope you guys had fun, and thank you for watching this segment.